Right, hello everybody. We've still got people joining us, but we're going to make a start anyway. If you haven't already watched the welcome video from myself, then you won't know that my name's Hannah Millett and I'm very proud to be the head teacher at Stokesley School. And although we couldn't do our open evening in the same way that we normally would, we really wanted to introduce this live section just so that you could get a real sense of who we are, and by we, I mean the leadership team at Stokesley School, who are really in charge of mapping out your children's journey over the next 7 years. So I'm going to ask everybody here to introduce themselves first of all, and then we've been gathering your questions over the last couple of days, and you can submit more questions through our Open Evening website as well throughout this next 20 minutes or so, and we'll try and answer as many as we possibly can. Mr. Burns.
Hiya, I'm Mr. Burns. I'm one of the assistant head teachers here, and my role is around engagement and wellbeing, including transition.
My name's Neil Weedy and I'm assistant head teacher as well. I'm in charge of the sixth form.
Hi, I'm Mr. McGreal. My job is assistant head teacher too, and I am in charge of curriculum and data.
Hello, I'm Mrs. McGreal. I'm assistant head teacher and I'm the SENCO.
Hello, I'm Mrs. Fox and I'm Director of Teaching and Learning.
Hello there, my name is Mrs. Derbyshire. I'm Deputy Head Teacher in charge of Achievement and Standards.
We've also got another person in the room who's just off camera at the moment, which is the Deputy CEO of our Multi-Academy Trust, Mr. Tate. He's going to be asking the questions and passing them out to relevant people so they can answer the things that you want to know about. So Mr. Tate, have you got any questions for us yet?
Yes, we've got a lot come in, which is fantastic. So the first question we've got is, will transition days run next summer? I think Mr. Burns, you're probably the best one to answer this one for us.
Yeah, thank you. Transition days are in the diary for the 14th, 15th and 16th of July next summer. And we'll also run our uniform sizing events across Friday the 16th and Saturday the 17th of July, using a very successful model that we tried for the first time this year.
Fantastic, thank you. Right, next question that has come in is, what support do you offer for vulnerable children? So Mrs. McGreal, can you answer this one for us?
Absolutely. So the first thing to say is that those students who are deemed to be more vulnerable will get the opportunity to have an enhanced transition. So they'll have additional opportunities to come into school, to get to know staff and the building before those transition days that Mr. Burns has just mentioned. Once they've joined us, obviously all students will have a tutor and our fantastic pastoral team will be able to support those students. And we've also got the Ethos team who are there to support those students who need that bit of extra additional support in that area.
Perfect, thank you. Right, next question that's come in is about school transport. So Mr. Burns, it'll be over to you again.
That is me again.
It is, how do we find out about the bus routes?
So all the information around the bus routes is on our school website. North Yorkshire County Council Passenger Transport operate all of our bus services as they do across the county. So you can find out the information about the specific routes that run on the website, and applications for bus passes go directly through to North Yorkshire County Council.
Brilliant. Right, next question, Mr. Miller, I'm going to come to you for this because certainly as a parent, this was a question that I would have always wanted to know when my children moved up to secondary school. How are children placed into tutor groups?
Okay, so what we do, and this is a job that Mr. McGreal actually does, is we place children in tutor groups randomly. What we're trying to achieve by doing that is a good spread of ability and different students from different primary schools. Like many schools in North Yorkshire, we have a lot of feeder primaries. We usually have about 40 different primary schools feeding in, not just from North Yorkshire, also from Middlesbrough, Redcar and Cleveland. And some of the schools are really tiny and there's maybe only 1 or 2 students who come up as well. So we do place them randomly so that everybody feels equal and gets that chance to make new friends. So this is an important part of our strategy of settling the students in.
Fantastic. I know when we were watching the videos back, some of the students on some of those videos talked about how they'd made lots of new friends, and it was great that they hadn't necessarily come up with this, the children in their own school, because they'd made lots of other friends, and that really extended their friendship groups.
Yeah.
Like, that's really important, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And those of you at home, please do look at the Year 8 Talking Head section of our virtual open evening, because it really, we all agree that we couldn't stop smiling when we watched it back.
Absolutely. Right. Another question for you, actually. Certainly one that any children will be want to know if they're watching right now. What are the start and finish times of the school day?
Right. Well, I've got to remember this now, haven't I? But under normal circumstances, we would be open early at 8 o'clock, providing breakfast for students who want it. And then we ask students to be in from around about 8:40, and a warning bell goes at 8:45 because we need them in their tutor groups and ready to start the day at 8:50. And then at the end of the day, we finish at 3:25, and the buses tend to leave at about 3:35, don't they? Depending on where they're going.
Brilliant. Right, next question I've got coming in is hopefully some students who are already keen to think about what they're going to do in their future options. So, Mr. McGreal, when do students get the chance to pick their options?
The students pick their GCSE options towards sort of February, March time of year 9, ready to start those courses in year 10. However, we do a bit of personalised options from year 8 to year 9 as well, where the students can choose to do a couple of lessons a week of technology or art or drama, rather than do one lesson a week of each one, just to try and get a bit more depth to the curriculum for them before they start the GCSE subjects in year 10.
Brilliant. Right, next question I've got is certainly, I think, a question that students and parents are asking. Mrs. Fox, I'm going to kind of put this one over to you. How much homework do students receive in year 7?
So first of all, I'm not saying this to be a pedant. We call the homework at Stokesley School independent work. And the reason for that is from the minute students walk through our door, we encourage and support them to be as independent as they can be, and proactive in organising their own time in school and out of school. In terms of how much they're set, we don't have a specified timetable of where homework is set and why, because we think it's really important that that independent work should enhance the learning that's happening in lessons and should come as and when it's necessary. So it might be that they have a project, it might be that they're continuing something that they've been doing in lessons, or it might be a bit of work that's set in isolation from those things. But whenever they get it and whatever they get, students have a planner. They write down their independent work in there, when it's set, when it's due in, so you as parents have that and can have that oversight and look at that planner as well.
Fantastic. Right, next question that's come in today about school uniform. So who is the school uniform supplier? So Mr. Burns, that's
Another one for me.
Absolutely.
So our school uniform supplier is the school shop. They're a company based in York, but as I mentioned earlier, they come into school and do uniform fitting with us, which this summer for the first time we did as booking appointment only, and it was so successful. That's the reason I mentioned earlier on that we're going to do that uniform sizing through the Friday evening and then into Saturday, the 17th of July, because it really enabled us to do that very well, and the school shop thought it was fabulous.
We got lots of good feedback from parents as well.
Yeah, it works well for everybody. Parents, students, and us as the school staff thought that it ran so smoothly. It's one of the positives that we've taken from COVID, and changes that's forced, that it was really positive, and we'll do that again now moving forward.
You can also order it online, can't you? And there's free delivery over a certain amount, so you can try it on at home and free returns as well. So it works well for our
Brilliant. Sounds very, very easy indeed.
Are we mentioning the PE kit list around?
Shall we mention the PE kit?
I think this is quite exciting, isn't it?
Yes. Do you want me to do it, Miss?
Go on.
So the nursery in Stokesley have supplied our school PE kit for a number of years, and that's been a really successful partnership between the school and one of our local businesses. But we're just at a point with both the nursery as a business and the school moving forward. We're redeveloping all of the sports side of the school this year. The roof is currently off the sports, the large sports hall. And we just thought it was a great opportunity to relaunch. And it also allows us to have one kit supplier doing both uniform and PE kit. So we're in the process at the moment, Mr. Beattie, who's head of faculty across at the PE department, they are in the process with themselves as a team and with students, particularly those who participate in a lot of sport at school. They're redesigning the PE kit, and it's going to be a fabulous new piece of kit from September 2021 for our new year 7s to buy and wear. And we're looking at that being developed so that there are, in addition to kind of the stock items that students need, there are going to be options such as hoodies, zip, like overtops that students can buy if they want to, and really kind of have a choice of kit that they can wear. It's the early designs look really good, don't they?
Yeah.
You and I have been lucky enough to see those.
Fantastic. So the new year 7s, or the students watching this tonight who maybe new year 7s next year will be the first year group to wear that big kit. How exciting.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Right, next question I've got coming is about school dinners. And I definitely think this is one that's come from a child maybe, because that's certainly what they all want to know is, how it's going to work. So, Mrs. Darvish, if I come to you, how do the school dining facilities operate?
Absolutely. Okay, we're really lucky here that our on-site catering team are absolutely fantastic. And in addition to that, we have enhanced our catering facilities this year. So we have our canteen and we also have our cafe. And in both of those spots, depending on where you are each week, you will be able to access hot food or if you prefer cold food. So in the cafe, we've got the jacket potatoes now, we've got pasta king, we've got wraps and sandwiches. And then in the canteen, we've always got 2 hot options alongside the pasta if you want that in there as well. And I have to say, I've been at the school now a year, and one of the things that definitely struck out to me was just how fabulous the catering is here at school. It's really important for you when you come up to school to make sure that we are feeding you the best way that we can, so that we are feeding your brain and you're ready to perform on the afternoon as well. So I hope that helps answer that question.
It definitely answered it, but it made me hungry as well at the same time.
Can I just add in that? I had a conversation with 2 year 7 girls on Tuesday lunchtime, and they said how much better the food was than their primary school. I did ask them, I won't name the primary school, but they said our lunches are far superior, so there's something to look forward to.
We all indulge in them as well, I think, for the students, which is
Very good. Next question I've got is I think specific to maybe one family, but I think it would also be really interesting for other families to know, maybe who are in the same boat. So the question is, my son is dyslexic. How will his needs be met in school? So Mrs. Green, if I come back to you for that one, and we can maybe answer that for quite a few parents, I suppose.
Absolutely. So the first thing I would say is that please don't worry. Dyslexia is one of our most common learning needs in school. So the staff are very well experienced in teaching students with those particular needs. So the first thing I would say is, please don't worry about that. In addition, all of our students who do come to us at Stokesley on the SEN register, they all have a one-page profile that outlines their particular areas of difficulty and then their strengths, and it provides their teachers with the strategies that are right for that child as well, so that the teachers are working on that. It may be that an individual child needs more intervention and more support than maybe that quality first teaching in the classroom can provide. So we do have some small group, time-limited interventions to support students with a range of different kind of learning needs to do with spellings or reading or writing or numeracy or anything like that. I would say that how your child will be supported is very much dependent on your child's individual needs, and we're very keen to make sure that all of our plans are child-centred and they are right for that particular student. So your child will be supported, but it might be in a way that's different to another child who might have the same learning need on paper. I think it's worth saying at this point as well that, if you do want to get into contact and discuss specific needs of a specific child, if you do watch my little video on the website, you can see that we've got an SEN email address. If you contact us, one of my team will be in contact with you, and we can arrange a time to have a phone conversation and talk about specific needs as well.
Fantastic. Right, next question is about bullying. So how do we deal with bullying here at Stokesley School? So Mr. Burns, I'd like to you for that one.
So bullying falls under my remit at school. Bullying is not a significant problem. On the whole, our students are so well behaved, and it'll have come across, I'm sure, as it did for me watching the year 8 speaking about what a welcoming school. We have the culture that the school has developed. We look after each other. But specifically last year, Mrs. Brosnan, who's one of our heads of year, she's head of year 9 currently. And last year when she was head of year 8, she worked with a team of students in her year group who formed a group, the anti-bullying ambassadors. And they actually worked with Mrs. Brosnan and then went to governors, and we rewrote our bullying policy, which is on the website. And that was written with students or by students, and they're very proactive at developing and supporting where incidents take place. We're like every school up and down the country, we do have occasional issues of students being unkind to each other, and some of that develops to bullying, but we deal with it very, very quickly. And I would like to say that our record on dealing with bullying incidents is excellent.
Excellent. There's certainly on the site itself,
I was going to mention,
you
yes,
can say it.
yes, when you go into the section that says here from our students, I think it might be in there, is it?
I think so,
I'm
yeah.
not quite sure, but anyway, navigate around and you will find an excellent video that the anti-bullying ambassadors made together, put alongside a poem that they wrote as well about their values and ethos related to bullying. So please do watch that as well.
Excellent. I would highly recommend that. Right. Another question coming in that's back into the classroom now. So how do lessons differ from primary school? So, Mrs. Fox, I can direct that one to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Good question. I suppose to a certain extent it depends what exactly your primary school lessons look like. But I'll talk to you a little about what lessons look like here, and you can make that decision about how much they're different for yourself. We're really proud of our lessons at Stokesley School. And probably the biggest difference that you'll find is that you're being taught by far more teachers in far more classrooms. And whilst that can perhaps seem a little bit daunting, what's actually really nice about that is that you've got loads, a bit wider range of views, a wider range of role models, a wider range of teaching styles. So really you can work out as a student in school what's best for you, how you learn best. In terms of what our lessons actually look like in the classroom, every lesson starts with two things. We have a brain in gear, which is designed to help you remember things that you've done in previous lessons, recall prior knowledge. In year 7, some of that will be remembering things that you did at primary school. And as you go through the school, it'll be looking back to years before and lessons before. And then we have a key learning question where you perhaps had a learning objective before. The idea, we really believe that education is about asking questions here. We don't want to sort of spoil the fun by telling you what you're going to learn. So a lesson starts with a question, so you can explore that question with your teacher.
Brilliant, sounds great. A couple of questions are coming now about getting to school, I suppose. So, Mr. Burns, I'll come back to you because we talked about the buses before. So the questions are, if we live out of the catchment area, will we get a place if we apply? And how are therefore school places allocated?
Okay, so the local authority allocate places for schools, and you can visit the North Yorkshire County Council website, and that gives information on that exact admissions process. But essentially we have 189 places in year 7 for students to fill. Now, the vast majority of those are filled by students who go to our feeder primary schools, and therefore they have a almost priority of coming into the school. We have around 50 or 60 children each year that come to us from schools, primary schools that are outside of the catchment area, normally from Middlesbrough and Redcar and Cleveland local authorities. We have been oversubscribed this last year for students coming in, so there's a waiting list for students that want to come into our current year 7. So it's essential that you fill out those applications for your secondary school place quickly and get those in.
Excellent. Right, next question in terms of moving up through the school, I suppose, in terms of progression. How do you cover progression to higher education and wider careers in Stokesley School? So, Mr. Weedy, for the first time I'll come to you tonight.
I know, I do get to say something at a year 6 opening in here. If we speak about higher education first, our sixth form has been established here for a very long time now. And I can say it's been very successful for a long time now too. But I think the most important thing is the teachers who predominantly teach in the sixth form, they are also very established. So right now we are currently getting our medics and our hopeful Oxford and Cambridge candidates through their UCAS applications. And we have members of staff here who've been doing that for years and years and years. And I can't think of a safer pair of hands than the hands that we currently have dealing with our medics. And I like to say for our engineers as well, I'm not too bad at that. I've got a bit of a background on that, so they're sorted too. But other sixth forms, perhaps the staff chop and change. We have some very established members here, so we're very confident when it comes to a higher education provision. When it comes to careers, we have a dedicated careers officer here in school who ensures that we cover all of these things called the Gatsby benchmarks, which are standards that every school are legally obliged to complete. Some schools, again, they do struggle to fill them all, but we are more than confident that we are. Normally that would involve having careers fairs in schools and having organisations coming to schools and giving that advice to the students directly. Obviously right now that's had to change, but we've not been sleeping on it. We've now created Google Classrooms for every single year group and giving individualised careers guidance and bits of reading and activities that they can do should they want to, if they've got particular goals and career paths, no matter how far down the line they are in school.
Fantastic, very good.
It's worth mentioning as well as a scientist yourself, that the new science curriculum that the parents can read about for year 7 is all built around careers, isn't it?
It is actually, yes,
And
it's
the
a very good point. It is.
Yeah,
We have
the science that underpins it. So watch Mr. Gill, our head of science's video in the subject area, where he tells you all about how you can learn the science behind being a racing car driver or a vet or whatever it might be.
Fantastic. Right, next question we have got that's come in is about attendance. So what are the expectations regarding attendance? Mr. Burns, you seem to be on the hot seat tonight.
Oh, I think we're going to ask Mrs. Derbyshire actually.
Oh, sorry, that's right. Sorry.
That's all right.
Yes, Mr. Derbyshire.
I'm sure we're good at the double act, aren't we? I'm sure Mr. Burns will chip in. Attendance is absolutely key to your success. Now, it might seem a long way off for you to be taking examinations, but attendance and progress and attainment is directly correlated. So the more you are here, the better a success you will be. But thinking about just coming up to school now in year 7, we want you to be here because we want you to settle in, we want you to make new friends, and we want you to be really happy in school. And the people who are here more than 96% of the time, and that's our benchmark, our figure, are those people who are really settled and happy. And they are more likely also to be involved in enrichment activities. We've touched on the anti-bullying ambassadors there. That's part of a much wider student leadership programme. There are so many sporting clubs for you to get involved in. The lists are endless. I'm sure if I went around the room, everybody could name a few more. So for us, at least 96% attendance. We understand that from time to time that you might be poorly, but when you are not, you need to be in school, learning in your lessons and taking part in the fabulous life that is Stokesley School. In addition to that, we also talk about punctuality as well. Being punctual is also being respectful to everybody around you. So you need to make sure that you are here every day and you're on time every day and you're trying to achieve and be the best that you can be. If parents would like to read more about attendance, you can go onto the school website and there's a drop down for attendance in there for you, and that will give you all of the information that you need about our protocols. If there is ever a problem, please get in touch with us, get in touch with your tutor, get in touch with one of the senior leadership team or the head of year, and we will be able to support you getting your child into school. Have I missed anything, Mr. Burns?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so.
It's an area we're uncompromising on, and we make no excuses for that, and that's right from year 7 all the way through to year 12 and 13 in the sixth form as well, because we just know how important it is, and we won't allow our students not to be the best they can be.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Next question is about Chromebooks. So how does the Chromebook leasing scheme work? Mr. McGree, if I come to you this one?
Yeah, it's my area of expertise, definitely. So as a school, we use Google's Suite for Education and a lot of Google apps. All the students will have their own Google accounts with a Google Drive, so they can save all their files in the cloud. And we use Gmail as our email tool. And we've also started using Google Classroom an awful lot in the last couple of years, certainly more so since lockdown. And to facilitate all that, we do run a Chromebook leasing scheme in school, which gives the students access to those devices. So the way the deal works is the parents sign up to the leasing scheme through the website that will get launched around the same time as the transition days in July. The cost is roughly sort of between £10 and £11 a month. And after 3 years, if you choose to take it over 3 years, you then own a, hopefully by then still shiny, device that's been fully insured and under warranty for those 3 years. So if there are any issues with it, you can bring it straight back to us. We send it off to get fixed and you get a replacement in its stead until it is returned.
Perfect, very good. Next question is about how Are students taught in sets or mixed ability classes? So,
Probably a one to me again.
Yeah,
So mainly our students are taught in mixed ability classes, certainly in year 7. They're mainly taught as a form group through year 7, and then as they move into year 8, we do tend to mix those groups up a bit as teaching groups, but they are still mainly mixed ability classes. The one exception to that tends to be maths. In maths, we do put them in sort of not strict sets from all the way from top to bottom of the year group, but they do tend to be a bit more setted in maths, so they can focus in the areas that they need to focus on, whether that be a bit more challenge at the top end or a bit more support at the bottom end. And then the only other subject that we do set in is science in year 9, again to help those students prepare for options about whether they'd like to take triple science or whether they'd like to do the trilogy science. But other than that, the vast majority of our classes are in mixed ability groups.
brilliant. Question now about sixth form. So, Mr. Winnie, I'll come to you for this one. How does having a sixth form benefit my child in year 7?
Well, any good teaching, when you have the students in front of you, you should be thinking about what do they know previously and what do they need to know in order to make it to the next step. And obviously with our school having a sixth form, our next step is a little bit further than many other schools would have. So I know in my lessons, there's been plenty of times where I've mentioned or dipped into some, be it GCSE work or A-level work, depending on what year group you're in order to stretch and challenge some students, or maybe it's just to consolidate some learning that they might not need to know right now, but they certainly need to know later. Many of our staff in the sixth form as well, they do teach low down the school. So when it comes to building those relationships with the staff in the sixth form, that can start really, really early. And I feel personally that the respect that our sixth formers show our staff in the sixth form and their willingness to open up with any struggles they've got when it comes to revision or study, that stems from the fact that they've known these teachers way back since they were 11 years old.
Yeah.
And it's, our sixth form isn't like having almost a separate school where you've got different teachers from year 7 to 11 and then other teachers from 12 to 13. That's definitely not the case here.
Could I ask Mr. Reedy something else on that? Because I think as well about the school service that when we don't have our pod system like we have at the moment, the school service that some of the older sixth formers do by going into the years.
Absolutely. That's something that's been really gnawing at me this year because we're a big believer of the year 12s and year 13s helping out in either helping the staff out or helping the students out in lots of different subjects. The subjects that the sixth formers are studying at Key Stage 5, be that when it comes to reading or the accelerated reader program that we have here, or being in science lessons, or again, I want them to be involved in competitions. That's had to be curtailed a little bit at the moment because of the pod system, but that is another excellent example that I should have said as to why having a sixth form benefits your child.
Excellent. Right, what colour tie will I wear?
Oh, we always get asked this, don't we? And part of our year group identities is that each year group wears a different colour tie. So help me out here, everybody. Year 7 at the moment.
Purple.
Year 8 at the moment.
Orange.
Year 9.
Green.
Year 10.
Blue.
And year 11.
Red.
This is a real better wrong, isn't it? So year 11 are currently wearing a red tie. So for the astute ones of you sitting at home, getting ready to join us next year, you will be able to work out that what will happen is when our year 11s go, that colour will roll around to our year 7s. So you will be sporting a very nice red tie as our year 7 cohort for 2021.
Fantastic. Right, I've had a flurry of questions come in the last kind of few minutes. I want to see if I can try and get as many of them done as we possibly can. They've all kind of just come into my email in the last few minutes, so I will try and direct them around as quick as we can, and if we can maybe try and do some real quick fire kind of answers. Some of them are actually fairly quite quickly. So, first one, Mrs. McGreen, I'm going to come to you from, I think you might be able to answer this. How accessible is the school to children? Do you have any lifts within the building?
So this is an old school building, and it's made up of a number of different buildings that have been added on as the years have gone on. So the main school building does have one lift, so that's accessible, but some of the other buildings around the school, they don't. So we try our best to make everything as accessible for our students who are wheelchair users as we possibly can, and we do that through things that we do have control over, things like timetabling and making sure that those students, wherever possible, are timetabled in a room that's downstairs or certainly is more accessible to them.
Perfect.
Yeah, I was just going to say, as part of our exciting refurbishment of the sixth form, we're hoping, this is not a promise, but to install an additional lift in the school as well.
Brilliant. Question about curriculum now, from someone who clearly is very creative. So, Mr. McGreal, I'll come to you for this.
Yeah.
Do we do drama, singing, acting, basketball, and football at
All at the same time.
all at the same time?
The students don't have a separate drama lesson in year 7, although the English department do touch on bits of it, but we do have separate drama lessons from year 8, and it's one of the personalised options in year 9 and year 10. There's a lot of singing goes on the music lessons, but we do have singing extracurricular groups as well when they're able to run, and basketball is definitely part of the PE syllabus, and again there's all those extra clubs. I can't remember all the ones you read out, Mr. Tate, but all those, everything you said, I was pretty sure we definitely run one way or another, whether it's extracurricular or within our PE curriculum.
Yeah, and basketball particularly is a club that I like to go and see the students participating in their own time at lunch times that the PE staff run.
Brilliant. Right, next question. Will someone help us to find our way around school when we start so we don't get lost? Mrs. Derbyshire, do you want to answer that one?
Yes, why not? Yes, of course we do. As part of the transition process, when you come up to school, you will be shown around the building and you'll get to know it in no time at all. I promise you, the first week that I started, I did think, will I ever know my way around the building? And after a couple of days, it was really, really simple and really clear. We have lots of peer mentors to support you throughout transition, and those peer mentors are still attached to you when you come up in year 7. So yes.
Brilliant. Mrs. Miller, I'm going to come to you for this one. I'm hoping you know the answer to this one, definitely.
Oh, it's going to be embarrassing.
Someone would like to know how many students are in the school in terms of I suppose the whole role, and maybe even how many would we not expect in year 7?
Yep, so we've got, I think at the moment, 1,151.
I thought it was 1145, but we're pretty close. About 1150.
Approximately 1,150 students. That includes the sixth form as well. And as Mr. Burns mentioned earlier on, our pupil admission number for year 7 is 189, which is a 7th form entry.
Which we are at in year 7 as well.
Yes,
we
and
do
we
have
are full in our current year 7.
Excellent.
I was close.
You were.
Very close. Question for virtual learning. Mr. I'll come to you on this. And clearly it's a question of what's been happening now. Hopefully this is going to continue into next year, but someone would like to know, how has the school worked in lockdown in terms of virtual learning, so that students haven't fallen behind?
We've been really fortunate actually that we introduced the Chromebook scheme 3 or 4 years ago now, so it's been a really good uptake on that. We have probably somewhere around 98% of our students actually have their own devices from year 7 to year 10, which are the first students we rolled it through with. So because of that, we've been confident that we've been able to set work for the students to do throughout lockdown. If we end up in any sort of future similar situation, we're moving towards a model where we would be able to do more live teaching with the students following their actual timetable. But where the certain areas where that won't be possible, staff have been sort of pre-recording videos and sending video links to students to watch so that the content can be explained to them. And then all the work that they've been asked to do and submit is all set in Google Classroom, which the students are all used to using, and will be shown how to use at the start of the IT curriculum. And that's one of the first things on there. So we're actually really well set up were we to have to do more virtual learning again, but fingers crossed we'll be back in the classrooms as normal.
Like many schools, we've got blended learning going on now. Mr. Reedy will speak about that a lot. We've got quite a few year 13s have been isolated, and the teachers have been simultaneously teaching students in the class and students at home, and it's been really successful.
Yeah, it has been incredibly successful. The doors have to be open at the moment, up to the airflow and things. So I've been able to listen into lessons from my office a lot more. And the fact that they've been engaging from home, I can hear through the microphones, asking questions, responding to questions. It's almost like they've been there a lot of the time. Obviously, we'd much prefer them being in school, but I do feel that they've had as close to a diet as possible if they have had to isolate.
Right. In addition to that question, something that's just come in the last kind of few minutes as well. Mr. Will, if I come back to you for this, I suppose that's great in terms of the classroom experience and the learning, but what about the emotional support and the emotional well-being that we've been able to offer our students during this very, very difficult time for some of our students and our families?
Absolutely important.
It is, yeah, and that was really important to us throughout the summer when obviously we weren't in the school building. So we had a really great team of staff who were in contact with a lot of our students who we were already. We knew that they would find that kind of thing difficult with, so we were in regular contact with them. And we also had on our school student dashboard, we had an I'm worried button, so that any student who was at home who was feeling a bit anxious or worried could just click that button. That's all they needed to do, and then it would alert one of their team who could then get in contact with them. And should we ever need to do so, then we will continue working in that manner as well. It's very important to us that we support our students through what is a very worrying and anxious time.
Excellent. Next one is about communication to parents. So, Mrs. Blunt, if you want to take this one. How are parents communicated to, and do they have access if they need to contact their class tutor or their form tutor?
Yes, I mean, our staff are contactable through email and are as responsive as they can be given their busy timetables. And I write to parents every 2 weeks with updates from across the school and keep them as informed as we possibly can. And particularly since the lockdown, we've received really positive feedback from our parents on the communication that they receive from the school. And we listen to our parents as well when they ask us to change something or to do things slightly differently. So yeah, we're in regular communication with parents and wish to get them more and more involved in the school.
Brilliant.
I think it's important to add in there as well that we the SIM system that we use for has as a parent app, which not only covers things like putting money on for school dinners, but you get that regular communication through from the biggest thing is from recognising behaviour that's in the classroom, like that's very positive, things like outstanding work, almost like an old merit system. We call them ambition points, and parents get updated with those on a daily basis as their children are earning those.
Excellent. I know we've kind of covered this already, so it might be a short answer for you, Mr. McGrail, but someone said, is there a learning platform for homework submission, etc.? Now, obviously, we've been talking about Google Classroom lockdown, but do you want to just explain how that works throughout the year as well in any normal year?
Yes, we don't necessarily have like all the homework submitted digitally. A lot of homeworks, will be done the old-fashioned way on pen and paper. We still have exercise books. The students still do work in those, but there will be occasions where homework might be asked to be submitted digitally, and yeah, we use Google Classroom for that. It all syncs nicely with everything, and the students are able to easily upload the work that they've got.
Fantastic. Question about how do we support and encourage students who have high academic abilities? Mrs. Fox or Mr. Weedy, do you want to talk about that from a kind of teaching and learning or a sixth form point of view in terms of how we support with high academic abilities?
I think one of the things that's been already mentioned is we teach a lot of students in our mixed ability sets, and that gives all students a real opportunity to shine from the top and also to support students lower down in their lessons. With our feedback in school, we use whole class feedback, and on those feedback sheets there's always a stretch and challenge box. So if students have done what they needed to do for a piece of work, there's how can we reach higher, how can we do more. Our Google Classrooms are a real great opportunity for teachers to share work that's going to push students or challenge them to do more. So I think that, from my point of view, is some of the things that we do. And
it touches on the point I made before about the sixth form teachers teaching lower down the school. And I think the biggest one would be at GCSE level. So I know a few years down the line now, but there's a big crossover between the sixth form teachers and the GCSE teachers. So constantly in lessons, they know what kind of things these students need to know of in order not to just succeed at GCSE, but also at A level 2. And again, I've spoke about, we've got these specific members of staff within the sixth form who are tailor-made for specific students with specific career paths. We don't just have a one-size-fits-all approach to higher education support. We actually funnel them towards specific members of staff if they do have specific dreams and specific goals.
I would add as well that our curriculum itself is challenging. We have a broad range of options at GCSE, including many academic courses. We encourage every student to take the EBAC qualification, which involves taking obviously history or geography, as well as a language. So all those academic options are open to everybody, as well as having options to support students who might find GCSEs a bit more of a challenge with some vocational courses.
So I've got two more questions that have come in. One is about the behaviour system. So I suppose the question is, how does the behaviour system work, and how as a school do we make sure we follow through on any incidences of kind of low-level disruption or bullying. I know we talked about bullying before, and make sure that doesn't really spoil the learning experience of our students here.
Yeah, I think from my perspective, I've been working in the school for a year now, and I go around the school every single day visiting classrooms, and the standard of behaviour within the classrooms really is high. We operate a step system like a lot of schools do. Some call it a C1, C2. We simply have step 1 through to 4. Step 1 is where a student has already been warned about something low level like turning round, distracting their peers, not focusing on the work that they're doing. And if they're spoken to again, that's a step 1, which goes through to ultimately a step 4 would be a student being removed from that classroom. Now, certainly in comparison to schools in our surrounding area, schools that I've worked in, we have very, very, very few students that are removed from lessons. Behaviour in lessons really is of a high standard. We don't tolerate students that are going to disrupt lessons, and ultimately we want every other child to be able to thrive and be the best that they can be in their learning around school. We want students to come to school enjoying it, and we all know that actually the vast majority of students do want to come to school and do just that. They want to be able to get on and learn in peace without disruption. They want to enjoy their time at school. So we very quickly react and support students where things are going wrong in their lessons. We proactively engage to make sure that our behaviour systems support all students and try and ensure that we don't get to those situations where learning is disrupted.
Brilliant.
And I think it's worth to say as well, that, you know, if parents are choosing us as their school, that we really expect our parents to support us with our systems as well, because we absolutely want the same thing that you do as parents, which is for your child to be an absolute success, a great individual, wonderful person. And so we need the support of our parents if we need to issue a detention or we need to enforce a sanction, as rare as that is. So we thank our parents for backing us really, just as we were back then.
Absolutely. Last question, hopefully it'll be a short on this one. What are the class sizes like, please? I don't know if Mr. McGreal or Mr. Miller wants to take that. That might be different in cases 3 and cases 4, maybe even 6 form as well.
So in year 7, our class sizes are all roughly 27. We work on 27 times 7 is 189. That's where that number comes from. We have slightly smaller classes in technology. And there's obviously, you know, they're doing more practical activities there, so they become a bit smaller. And then some of the maths classes, because they're set, they can vary in size. We tend to have more students in the higher classes so that the students in the lower classes can get more support where they need to. As you go higher up the school, it really depends on what options you take. Some of our more popular options will obviously have bigger class sizes again, perhaps up to 30, 32, whereas some of the smaller options, you know, may well only have around 15, 16. And then at A-level, we're a similar thing, really depends on the popularity of the subject. Some of our subjects are up to sort of like early mid-20s, and we do have some small courses which we like to run because we feel they're important, but sometimes we do have to make decisions about whether they are viable or not.
Excellent. I know I said it was the last one, but one has just come in my email in my inbox right now, so we make this definitely the last one. How are places on school trips allocated? Who else would like to say that?
Do you want to, well, ultimately what we try to do in terms of trips is we try to encourage as many people as we can. If we have a trip that's going out which has limited places, what we try to do is look at students' behaviour, so are they the best that they can be, but we try to be fair at every turn. So if there are people who might be struggling to be able to go on trips, we can try and look to support them. But we have a plethora of trips in a normal year. This year's obviously been unique. But normally we have numerous trips that go out, and we try to encourage as many of our students to participate as possible. We also have free trips that we do as part of our curriculum as well, where every single student will be included in that. It's part of our aim to make sure that we enrich the curriculum in as many ways as we can, and that will be school trips, and that will also include our curriculum enhancement clubs and things as well.
Popular trips, we do names out of the hat.
Yes.
As well. So thank you so much to everybody who stayed with us through that. I hope you can still see us, because actually the light has faded fast while we've been talking, and it's actually got quite dark. If you've just pinged some questions to the last minute and we haven't had a chance to answer them, we'll keep monitoring that email address for another couple of days and we'll answer them personally. If after that you've got any questions, just direct them to our normal email address, which is office@stokesleyschool.org. Now, I hope you can spend some time looking around the site, and please go into the section at the bottom of the page where there's a feedback form, because obviously this has been brand new for us this year as well, and we'd really like to know what you've thought of the experience and all of the information that's on the site. And we look forward to seeing you in September 2021.
Bye-bye.